Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be back for the very last First Chapter Friday of the semester. So if you've been watching my videos, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm just, enjoying some coffee in my Don't Make Me Use My Teacher Voice mug. And I haven't had to use my teacher voice in a few months now, so I'm ready to use it. Okay, I'm so excited for this new author that is becoming one of my favorite new authors lately. It's one of our very own Mr. Hunter Measures. He's in grade 11 in my 20-1 English class currently. Not for much longer, but he's a very talented writer. This story, my mom teaches as well, and I made her read it, and she cried, and I had just one little, glistening tear, just one. But I thought too, now rereading this story this morning, it's a perfect fit for Father's Day this weekend. So thank you, Hunter. And if you know Hunter personally, feel free to reach out to him and tell him how much you enjoyed this story. He has a lot of really beautiful metaphors in here. He's very good at provoking emotion, or you really understand how that character is feeling. And what I also love is the subtleties with the title of the story and how he kind of ties it in. It's so beautifully done. Obviously, there was a few little editing things, so I did edit some of just sentence structure type things, but this is totally 100% Hunter's raw story. So thank you, Hunter, for allowing me to use your writing for my last First Chapter Friday of the year. I can't think of a better way to close it out than advertising one of our own students and what a great writer you are. So here we go. This title of the story is Superhero. And so I have to read it off the screen. So I'm kind of going to be facing sideways, but please enjoy. Ooh, I'm just so excited. The deafening knell from my father's tear-filled funeral still echoes in my mind. It was just last year my mother had passed, and I guess my dad did not want to be without her for too long. I had a lot of questions for my father. A lot of unacquainted closure. See, my father was always the man I looked up to most. Most people did, as he was 6'5". But I admired how hard he worked for everything we had. He got his first job when he was 8 because my grandfather had fallen off his horse and paralyzed himself from the waist down. Work was his way of life. He did not know any different. That is the reason none of us, including my mother, saw him very often. It was quite seldom I saw my dad asking for others' help. Hell, I had never even seen my dad cry. He had a hard time expressing any emotion. If he was happy with someone, he'd shoot you a slight head nod, but not much more. I loved my dad so much, and I tried my hardest to make that apparent to him, but either he did not get the message or just did not care. Either way, I'm not too sure how he felt about me, and I hated that. I spent the last 3 days off from work, but my boss told me to come back in after giving me time to recollect. It was pretty generous of him, actually. Normally, asking for any time off would be like asking a rabid dog for the bone in its mouth. I opened my eyes and unenthusiastically raised my head from my damp pillow, which had been drenched by a waterfall of tears throughout the night. I dragged myself into the shower where I could rinse my sorrow away. The warm water trickling down my back had always made me cool down when I needed to most. I must have stayed there 20 minutes longer than I normally do. I hopped out after shaking my head back and forth to dry the clear beads of water off the tips of my dirty blonde hair. I buried my face into a towel, wiping away the water that did not only flow from the shower. When I move the damp towel and look into the mirror, I see the reflection of my dad and his apathetic stare. "What do you want?" I scream and spit flies and splatters on the mirror. My dad did not answer, which was no different than when he was actually around. I clench my fist so hard it could crush the strongest of diamonds, and I swing towards the mirror. It shatters, along with my heart. I slowly back my hand away from the mirror of which I destroyed and find tiny shards of glass embedded in my fingers and knuckles. Blood starts pouring out of my hand like a rattlesnake's venom, and before I can reach a towel to put over it, I slip on the water I left on the floor and smash the back of my skull on the side of the shower. Colors begin to float through the air as if I was looking through a kaleidoscope. I wake up in the hospital with the back of my head as if someone were using it as a drum. I examine the room and find a small box of things from home sitting on the nightstand. My curiosity grows, so I decide to open it. Before I get the chance, a doctor swings the door open. He is a happy-looking young man, probably just fresh out of medical school. "Mr. Elfson," he greets after scanning his clipboard for my name. "How are you feeling?" "Fine." I lie, not being one to publicize my feelings. "You must be quite the trooper then, because you've got one serious concussion." Look, no offense, but the last thing I want right now is someone speaking in my ear. His smile turns to a stunned expression, and he awkwardly makes his way out. I go for the box again, this time doing so without interruptions. I read a note on top that reads, "Hey Reggie, we heard a scream from next door, so we checked in and found you lying unconscious. We've packed a few things from home so you would have something to remind you of home. Ron and Edith." My neighbors, who I find fairly annoying and quirky, called the ambulance that brought me here. I rummage my hand and find my award for getting valedictorian in my graduation year. My dad was not there to hear my speech as he had to work, but my mother had filmed it for him. My heart sinks to the bottom of my chest and the disappointment spreads through my whole body. I reach in the box to find something that might cheer me up. My hand comes across my gold medal I received when I was 14. We were state champions that year, and we got those to remember the day we conquered the undefeatable Titans. My dad was not able to make that either. He was working a few hours away and only got there in time to watch us shake hands with the other team after the game. I recall him giving me his infamous head nod when he saw me wearing my medal, which I had practiced all year for. I throw the box across the room, my arm fueled by rage and the familiar feeling of being let down. When it makes contact with the wall, one last item falls out. I shuffled my aching body towards it and picked it up. I blow the dust off it and read the words, "Holy Bible." It has that old book smell that reminds me of my grandmother's house. This was my father's Bible that he had taken with him every day to work. There was a piece of paper sticking out as a bookmark, so I flipped to that page. There was a passage about the special relationship between a father and son. I flipped the picture around and broke into tears when I saw the picture. It was a picture of me in my Superman costume I had for Halloween when I was 5. He was holding me up and had the most loving look on his face. He was staring up at me, and I had never seen a pair of faces happier than the ones on ours. I guess Dad looked up to me too. I whispered to myself, letting my salty tears of joy enter my mouth. I swallow a lump in my throat and begin to wonder if I was just as much his hero as he was mine. Oh my God, I'm trying not to cry again. But so good. The connection of the title, superhero, to the end, flawless. And just the subtleties of the emotion in the story, it's so profound, right? And for a first draft, for a first writing without any major revisions and polishing from myself, I just fixed a couple things, but so beautifully written for a grade 11 high school student. So thank you, Hunter, for again almost making me cry as I'm reading story, trying to make a nice video for everybody. But I hope everyone enjoyed that. And again, thank you so much for sticking around for my first chapter Fridays or enjoying them. I had fun making them, but this is it. So I hope you have a great summer, and I hope that you actually read some of my suggestions. And if you do, please reach out to me and tell me what you thought of it. And if you need more, I've got plenty more up my sleeve here. Okay, so thank you again, and I hope to see you all soon in person. Goodbye.